Shalom from Jerusalem, and our weekly portion, Korach, talks about Korach rebellion, and Korach and 250 very, very important people in Israel, including members of Sanhedrin, started rebelling against Moshe Rabbeinu, against Aaron, a Kohen, and the slogan was, "We're all equal, we all stood on Har Sinai." Why does Moshe Rabbeinu sort of promote Aaron and promote other members of his family to the higher positions? And Moshe, who knew that all those promotions, if you want, was done exclusively by God's will and not Moshe Rabbeinu's will, and that's what those people thought, that Moshe asked God to promote these people, and then God, of course, says, Moshe, I love you, of course, I'll do what you ask. Moshe Rabbeinu did not ask God to do it, but that was a mistake. But so Moshe looked at the Korach and realized that all this talk about equality, it's a smoke. Really, Korach wants to be high priest himself. He was very jealous that he wasn't appointed to the position of the head of the Levites, that he was thought that he was supposed to be, and that's how he created the rebellion. And since people were disappointed, there was a time, our commentary says that when people received the order from God to go into the desert for 40 years, and they realized this entire generation have to die in the desert, they cannot go to land of Israel, and of course that was a big disappointment, which a lot of people immediately took upon Moshe and Aaron, that it's as if it was their fault that they didn't deliver sort of the land, immediately forgetting that the people's own fear and the people's own lack of trust in God that was created this situation. So, but nevertheless, there was this negative feeling, and they fed the rebellion. Interestingly enough, that what was the consequences of the behavior of Aaron? The earth opens its mouth and it swallows Aaron, and it opens the mouth and it swallows Korach, and it swallows Datan Aviram, to other people who were head of the rebellion. And why this was a consequence? And one of the reasons told us by Arizal, the greatest Kabbalist, that when we see the same words, the same expressions in Torah in different places, we talked about before, then there is a correlation between those particular places. Where before in Torah, in the beginning, we saw the same words, that the mouths of the earth opened, and if you would remember, it was a story of Cain and Efim. And when Cain kills Havel, right? This is his brother. So what happens is that God asking, "Where is your brother?" And the famous things, I'm my brother's guardian. And God says, "Curse are you from the ground that had to open the earth, that had to open its mouth to receive your brother's blood." The same absolutely expression. So the Kabbalists tell us what happens is that the soul of Havel reincarnates into Noach, and then reincarnates into Moshe Rabbeinu. And of course, remember, Noach, he saved himself, he didn't save the generation. So what Moshe Rabbeinu did numerous times when God says, "Let me destroy these people and I'll make another nation, better nation out of you," he says, "No, we've been there, please save those people." And God says, "Okay, according to your word, I'll do it." And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu is doing a tikkun, he's doing a correction for his soul, which he didn't do, he was not able to save a generation, he didn't ask for saving the generation as passionate as Moshe Rabbeinu. So at the same time, when Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, the soul of Cain, the Kabbalists tell us, is also reincarnated, and because of the three levels of the soul, it's reincarnated to three different people. The level of Nefesh, the lower soul, reincarnated into the Egyptians that Moshe killed in Egypt, and he was exiled, or he had to run away from Egypt because people were looking to kill him. The Ruach, which is a part of the soul that connected to our emotions, control emotions, actually incarnated in the Korach, and he started the rebellion. And the Neshama incarnated into Itro, who was the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu, and they made peace on that level. So the same theme, the theme of jealousy that was there with Cain and Hevel, the same theme of jealousy continued in this dispute. And here, the principle called Midah Keneged Midah, which is measure for measure, the earth opens its mouth and it swallows Korach, where previously the earth opened the mouth to receive the blood of Hevel. So there was, again, the tikkun, the correction for what was going on then. Now, which teaches us, that jealousy is a very, very bad trait, and Arizal tells us that never be jealous. If you see a person born with certain talents, says it's probably because he worked a lifetime or 2 lifetimes, maybe more, on this particular trait before, and therefore he born with this strength. And when a person born with a certain weakness, this weakness can also come from earlier Gilgulim, from earlier lives, where something the person have not complete, and therefore he comes back. And that's why people come back. They come back either to fulfill, to actualize some potential that they haven't actualized before, and therefore they're giving strings and tools, and that's what we have to look in our lives, or in the same time, we come back to correct certain weaknesses that we didn't correct last time, and therefore when we come with a certain weakness, or we see a person with a certain weakness, it's not like we born like this, we'll die like this, that's who I am. It's not who you are. That's why you came here to work on it, right? And that's what it's all about. And that's the same thing with other people, but we have to be very careful, because telling this person does not help him. If you really know how to help him, help. If you don't, at least be humble and don't say anything. So again, the trait of jealousy that almost destroyed Jewish people when the brothers betrayed because they were jealous of Yosef, and the strife that still continues today, that's the trait that we really have to overcome. By the way, Datan and Aviram, they're also Gilgulim, the Gilgulim of people of Sdom, and you remember Sdom had the same problem. It was a very, very rich place, but they were afraid that they're not going to be enough for everybody, and there's the laws of Sdom was we're not sharing anything with anyone. And oral tradition tells us that when Parah was killing children, Moshe Rabbeinu complained and says, why those children are dying? And God says, I'll show you 2 of these kids, I will let them live, and you'll see what kind of people come out of it. And that was Datan and Aviram. Those are 2 people who bothered Moshe Rabbeinu on every occasion, all the time, and they finally finished together with Korach. Now, so another theme here, apart from jealousy and working on jealousy, is this what we call machlokas. Machlokas is strife, it's arguments. And there are 2 kinds of arguments. There are arguments what we call Hashem Shemaim, right, for the sake of heaven, and those are arguments to find the truth. And Torah is full of these arguments. The whole Talmud is about this argument, that this is the truth, this is the truth, how can I prove that? And it can be very passionate, it's very, very hot, but it's really striving to find out the truth. And there is another kind of argument, the argument coming out of our ego and our egotism, and it doesn't matter how it's dressed inside the white, but that's where it's coming. It's not coming from the truth, it's coming from the fear, it's coming from fear of, some people are so afraid to be wrong that they would never admit that they're wrong. Some people, argue because somehow they would benefit, and there will be benefit for them, but they would pretend that, they're really bringing the universal truth and justice to the argument. So it's very, very important for us to step back and ask ourselves this question. The argument, first of all, stay away from argument. But if I can, is this an argument for the sake of truth or not an argument for the sake of truth? And I'm arguing the way I should argue, if it's for the sake of truth, I not argue. And so if we take a step back, analyze ourselves, and find the proper answer, and if it's the argument not for the sake of truth, just completely let go, even apologize to, even tell that we're wrong. This is a beautiful, beautiful trait. And if it's an argument for the sake of truth, then again, takes the personality out of it, and you can like the person and argue at the same time. From Israel, Shalom.